1 minute.
Good evening and welcome along to the picturesque setting of Wimborne Road in Poole in Dorset for the baptism of a brand new international championship. It is the Inter-Nations Championship featuring 3 teams, Sweden, Australia and of course host nation England. The venue, Poole in Dorset, and the fans just now witnessing the presentation of the 3 teams and the national anthems, and we're going to take a look back at the first test match at Glasgow and the reasons for its abandonment after just a few heats. As you can see, the rain bellowing down up there at Shawfield in Glasgow, which means that it was abandoned after just a few heats of Speedway. Now this one at Poole becomes the first one in theory, but it's classed as a second test match with the conclusion this Friday at Oxford's Cowley Stadium. There you can see several crashes taking place and riders at the end, their safety being the main reasons for the abandonment. And this was at Glasgow on Sunday afternoon. And just look at one or two of those riders, no doubt glad when the referee said that enough is enough. So the crowd baked in sunshine this evening as we look at the Britain team first. 1, the captain Kelvin Tatum, Martin Dugard at 2, Gary Havelock, the British champion at 3, Chris Louis 4, Marvin Cox rides for Poole, home track favourite at 5, Jeremy Doncaster at 6, and their reserve is Paul Thorpe. Per Jonsson, the world champion at 1 for Sweden, Tony Rickardsson 2, Henke Gustafsson 3, Mikael Blitz 4, Jimmy Nilsson 5, Peter Nolin 6, and their reserve Tony Olsen. That's the 7 representing Sweden. Australia depleted through injury, Todd Wiltshire 1, Steve Reglin 2, Lee Adams 3, Craig Hodgkinson 4, Glenn Doyle 5, Shane Bowles 6, and their reserve also rides for Poole is Mick Poole. They're sadly without Craig Boyce due to injury. So let's go into the action then here in the second test match at Wimborne Road, straight away with heat number 1. So then the riders coming to the line for this opening race here down at Wimborne Road, 371 metre length circuit. The track record stands at 64.4, held by Chris Louis of England, who I'm glad to say is in the lineup for the Britain team this evening. 1 or 2 of the riders just asking where the green light is shown by the referee, who tonight is Mr. Mick Barnes from Exmouth down in Devon. So it's England versus Sweden in heat number 1. Kelvin Tatum red, he's over gate number 1. His partner in blue, the youngster Martin Dugard, who made his world final debut last season at Bradford, he's in the blue helmet colour, gate number 3. For Sweden, white gate 2 is their world champion and captain Per Jonsson. On the outside in yellow black, a youngster with fine form for the Ipswich Connell Witches in the Sunbright League, Tony Rickardsson. This is heat number 1, just to recap, 3 points for a win, 2 for second and 1 for coming third. 500cc, all machines have no brakes and producing something in the region of 65 brake horsepower. The packed house here at Wimborne Road, the crowd baked in sunlight, waiting for the action to get underway. The green light goes on and this test match gets underway as the riders drive into that first turn. It is Kelvin Tatum who's there. Tatum, the captain of the England on Britain's side, heads Per Jonsson, the world champion. Third place is Martin Dugard. So straight as those tapes went up, it was Kelvin Tatum who looks over his shoulder to see that Jonsson is behind him. So Kelvin Tatum leads. Per Jonsson still second. Martin Dugard third, and this looks likely to be a heat advantage if it stays this way to the Britain side. Jonsson hasn't been to Poole for quite a while racing. Of course now resigned to racing in Poland and Sweden. But it's Kelvin Tatum who looks sure to collect the 3 points for the Britain side, entering the final lap of heat number 1. Tatum down the back straight, round the final 2 bends of this opening race. Coming up to take the win, Kelvin Tatum gets here. Second place is the world champion Per Jonsson, and Martin Dugard gets a very valuable third place. So straight away England with their nose in front, 4 points to England and 2 to Sweden. And that's the result of the opening race. Heat number 1 is Calvin Tatum, comes round to the applause of the crowd. And there certainly isn't any better ambassadors for the sport of speedway than the Poole crowd. Always makes everybody feel very welcome on your visits down to Wimborne Road. Calvin Tatum, the winner of heat number 1. So heat number 2, which features Sweden and Australia. It is Henke Gustafsson in red. He's in gate number 1. Gate number 3, his partner Mikael Blitz, who had a spell with Poole back in 1982, so he knows his way around the Wimborne Road circuit. For Australia, Lee Adams, who done his apprenticeship here at Poole before stepping up to Sunbright League Division 1 action with Swindon. He's in white in gate 2. And Craig Hodgson from Bradford, now in the Sunbright League Division 1. He's in yellow-black in gate number 4. This is heat number 2. They drive from the start and into that turn, they all roar, and Hodgson gets a good one from gate 4. So Craig Hodgson leads at the moment for Australia. So Hodgson leads. Henke Gustafsson second, Lee Adams third, Blitz in fourth place. Oh, Hodgson locks that turn, Gustafsson makes up great, but just can't quite squeeze by. Hodgson, who came in late to Sunbright League action this season, get a late call from Bradford to ride. Gustafsson breathing down his exhaust pipe. Lee Adams in third place. Gustafsson now down the outside line. Red Hodgson, just look at Gustafsson drive round him. He's now in pole position, and this young man from Kumla, Sweden, defies the laws of gravity. Now goes into first place. Hodgson back in second, and Lee Adams third. So the man who took Kumla to the Swedish Elite League title last season and made such an impact in that world final at Bradford Zonzal Stadium comes from the back to win this second race. Henke Gustafsson gets the flag. Second place in yellow-black for Craig Hodgson, who rode very, very well indeed. And third place, his partner, was Lee Adams. So 3 points to each nation, 3 to Sweden, and of course 3 to Australia. Sweden move on to 5. But what a brave, brave ride from this man in red. And doesn't he enjoy life? 18-point maximum he scored for Kings Lynn on their visit to Poole recently. Henke Gustafsson, the winner of heat number 2. So heat number 3, which sees Australia and England, Todd Wiltshire red in gate 1. His partner Steve Reginald in blue, gate 2. Gary Havelock white for England, gate 2. Steve Reginald in gate 3, should I say. Gary Havelock 2 in white. And Chris Louis, the current track record holder, in gate number 4 in yellow and black. That's the way they'll line up for heat number 3. Australia versus England. Starting master just calling him and getting closer to the line. He's now content. The green light shows. They rise and they go. The first to show is Gary Havelock, the Speedway champion, of course, from Britain. Havelock leads, but just come around the outside of him in yellow and black is Chris Louis. So England looking set for maximum points. And Todd Wiltshire not making the trap on this occasion for Australia. Reginald back in fourth place, but it was Chris Louis and drove around Gary Havelock. Louis looks over his shoulder, sees that his partner's in second place, and for England's point of view, a long way clear of Todd Wiltshire. So 2 laps gone, and Chris Louis in yellow-black leads the field. Gary Havelock, the Bradford Speedway captain and of course British champion, a meeting you saw here on Screen Sport back in May. He's tucked in behind him in second place. Todd Wiltshire, the Australian captain, in third. We're now on the final lap of heat number 3. Round the final 2 bends. And Chris Louis, with such a great future in front of him, is going to come up to take the win. Louis wins. Second place is Gary Havelock. In third place is Todd Wiltshire. So a maximum heat advantage for England. 5 points to England, 1 to Australia. And there you see it's 9 to England and 4 to Australia. But it's a good 5-1 and a good race win for Chris Louis in heat number 3. As always, the riders go around for a victorious lap, and who can blame those sparing who done very well for England. So heat number 4, and just to tell you that Chris Louis in heat 3 has equalled his track record here at Wimborne Road of 64.4 seconds. Congratulations to you on that one, Chris. So heat number 4, which features England and Sweden. Marvin Cox, who rides now for Poole in red in gate number 1. His partner in blue is Jeremy Doncaster. He goes off gate 3. For Sweden, they're in white is Jimmy Nelson, he's in gate 2, and Peter Nolene, the former world under-21 champion, he's in yellow and black on gate 4. Lights rev, drive from the start, there you go, and the first one to show is Jimmy Nelson and Jeremy Doncaster, but Nelson is there, just Nelson. Doncaster's trying the outside line, has he got the pace? No, Nelson holds on, coming through the third place is Marvin Cox over Peter Nolene. So at this moment in time, heat number 4 is shared, but it's Jimmy Nelson from Stockholm in Sweden who heads the pack. Now racing, of course, in England for the Berwick Bandits, or Scotland, shall I say, in the Sunbright Division 1. Doing very, very nicely on loan from his parent club, Swindon, this season. So Jimmy Nelson leads from Jeremy Doncaster second, Marvin Cox third, and Peter Nolene with engine problems back in fourth place. So Nelson looks over his shoulder, sees that it's the two English boys who are hot in pursuit, but in fairness, they're way, way behind. Nelson coming up to surely take 3 comfortable points for his country. It's Jimmy Nelson that gets the flag, he wins. Second place, Jeremy Doncaster, and third place is Marvin Cox. So heat number 4 is a drawn race, 3 points to Sweden, and a 3 to England, and it is Sweden on 8 and England on 12, and Jimmy Nelson, a very good winner of heat number 4. So heat number 5 back onto the arena for the world champion Per Jönsson. So Sweden in red and blue, Per Jönsson red, gate number 1, his partner Tony Rickardsson in blue in gate 3. For Australia, Glenn Doyle, former double Australian Speedway champion, he's in white gate 2, and Shane Bowles in yellow and black in gate number 4. Riding in Division 2 for Glasgow and doing very, very well indeed is Mr. Bowles. So the rider's being called into the line by tonight's referee, Mr. Mike Barnes. 371-metre circuit here at Wimborne Road, and Poole for so long domineering the National League Speedway scene where they won the championship on the last 2 seasons, 89 and 90, now trying their hand in the newly formed, newly vamped British League Division 1, and at the moment in time struggling, but no doubt will get their act together before the end of the season. So then, heat number 5 comes under the green light, and away they drive, and Jönsson gets a good start from gate 1, and his partner is there with him, Tony Rickardsson. Jönsson looks over his shoulder, sees that he's with him. So this is the time that the world champion shows his true colours. He will guide his partner home in no uncertain fashion. Shane Bowles comes through to third place for Australia. But just watch these two in front. They've rode together on several test matches you saw recently here on Screen Sport. Sweden v Denmark at Malmo, that was just one of them. They know their style, they ride for Stockholm United in the Swedish Elite League. Rickardsson, who's having such a great spell with the Ipswich Colin Witches in England. His first spell, and he really has captured the imagination. Jönsson tucked in behind him. Shane Bowles in third place as we head to the final lap of heat number 5. And it's looking good for Sweden to bounce back and get a few more points in the bag. Rickardsson round the final 2 bends. Jönsson tucked in nicely behind him, not worrying about the wind, just covering everything that he does. So Rickardsson gets a win. Second place is Per Jönsson, and Shane Bowles back in third place. So a 5-1 heat advantage to Sweden, which they say thank you very much indeed. They now go on to 13 points after 5 heats, and Australia on 5, and Tony Rickardsson, an easy and good winner of heat number 5. So we move swiftly on to heat number 6, which features Australia and England. Todd Wiltshire red in gate number 3. His partner for Australia in blue is Steve Regan in gate number 1. For England, Calvin Tatum in white gate 2, and on gate 4 in yellow and black is Martin Dugard. So England, after that, seeing that 5-1 for Sweden in the previous heat, no doubt want about backs to things. And Australia, no doubt, will have something to say about it. This is heat number 6 of this Internations Championship from Poole. Of course, the tournament ends at Oxford on Friday night, but the green light goes on for heat 6, and away they go. And straight away it is Tatum and Wiltshire. Tatum on the inside, Wiltshire on the outside. And coming through is Steve Regan over the Mayhem. So Tatum leads, Regan second, Dugard third in that order, Wiltshire fourth. So Tatum still leads, and at the moment for Australia, Tom Wiltshire in last place, and Steve Redling coming through the mayhem on the second turn, through to second place. So the England captain, Calvin Tatum, leads. Steve Redling, Australia second, Martin Dugard, England third, Tom Wiltshire, Australia fourth. And Tatum coming up to surely get his second win of the night down here at Poole in Dorset. The sun's still coming down, which is nice to see after the atrocious weather conditions in Glasgow on Sunday afternoon. Tatum, of course, riding now for Berwick in the Sun Riding Division 1. Got the style, still hopeful of that world crown if he can get to Gothenburg. He takes a win. Second place for Australia, Steve Redling, and third place for England is Martin Dugard. So a 4-2 heat advantage to England, 3 points to Calvin Tatum and 1 to Martin Dugard, and Steve Redling getting 2 to Australia. So 16 points to England, 13 to Sweden and 7 to Australia. That's the position after heat number 6. There we are. England 16 points, Calvin Tatum 6, Martin Dugard 2, Gary Havelock 2, Chris Louis 3, Marvin Cox 1 and Jeremy Doncaster on 2 points. England, after 6 races, on 16 points. We move on to Sweden, who at this stage currently on 13 points. Per Jonsson 4, Tony Rickardsson and Henke Gustafsson 3 apiece. Mikael Blitz failed to score, Jimmy Nielsen 3, and Peter Olin failed to score. Tony Olsen, their reserve, yet to be used. And then last but by no means least is Australia on 7 points at this moment in time. Todd Wiltshire 1, Steve Redling 2, Lee Adams 1, Craig Hodgson 2, Glenn Dole failed to score, Shane Bowles 1, and Mick Poole, their reserve, still to be used. Still, plenty of action still to come. Join us for more International Speedway on Screen Sport after the break. So welcome back to Wimborne Road for more International Speedway action. We move swiftly on to heat number 7 of this Internations Championship between Sweden, Australia and England. And this race, it's England versus Sweden. And for England in red, Marvin Cox. His partner in blue, Jeremy Doncaster. Cox off of gate 3, Doncaster off of gate number 1. So for Sweden, it's Henke Gustafsson in white off gate 2 and Mikael Blitz off of gate number 4. So a very interesting race in prospect with Henke Gustafsson looking in fine form this evening. And of course, Cox, a rider for Poole, so he knows every inch of this circuit down here at Wimborne Road. Blitz, as I told you, rode briefly for Poole back in 1982 before staying out of England for several seasons, coming back this year to ride for Peterborough in Division 2. So this is heat number 7. Riders then coming into the line. Green light goes on, the throttle's wide open and the clutch is dropped and they roar into that first turn, and Doncaster's got there. Jeremy Doncaster leads for England. Henrik Gustafsson in white is coming up underneath him. Doncaster with his head down, roaring into the third bend. Cox is in third place and Blitz fourth for Sweden. But at the moment in time, it's Jeremy Doncaster with 1 lap gone who leads the field. Jeremy Doncaster hit his testimonial season for the Reading Racers in England. But hot in pursuit is Henke Gustafsson and Marvin Cox in third place. None of these riders can afford to make a mistake. Doncaster still leads, now Gustafsson coming closer by the metre. I'm sure Doncaster doesn't need to be told who's breathing down his exhaust pipe. Now taking the inside line, Henke Gustafsson getting very, very close. Still it is Doncaster that holds on for England. Has he got the pace? Has he got the strength and determination? Gustafsson getting very, very close. Driving now on the outside line to come round. And Gustafsson comes up alongside Doncaster and takes the lead. Gustafsson gets there in the nick of time to get to the flag. Speedway of the highest quality in heat number 7. It's Henrik Gustafsson gets to the flag and wins heat number 7. Second place for Jeremy Doncaster and third for Marvin Cox. Let's take another look at that breathtaking move by Henrik Gustafsson. Goes out in the dirt, winds that throttle wide open, sits on the back wheel, and just look at the drive he gets. He's got the room and gets the 3 points. The crowd very rapturous in their applause, quite rightly so, for a great win for Henrik Gustafsson in heat number 7. So heat number 8, which features Sweden and Australia. Jimmy Nielsen is in red, he goes into gate number 1. His partner in blue is Peter Nolleen. He's in 3. And for Australia, Glenn Doyle White in gate number 4, and Shane Bowles in yellow black gate 2. That's the way they're on it for heat number 8. Jimmy Nielsen already got a good win and a paid win under his belt. White's rev. Up on the tapes, Nielsen very, very nearly touched them then, but he looks across and sees it. Peter Nolleen has also made it with him. So Sweden 1 and 2 at the moment. Nolleen on the outside, Jimmy Nielsen protecting the inside line. Glenn Doyle in 3rd place. Shane Bowles now coming underneath him, but Sweden roaring around Wimborne Road this evening. Well, Australia slightly depleted due to the injury sustained in the Commonwealth final by Craig Boyce. And it's really Sweden and England who are setting the pace here at Wimborne Road. Nolleen looks over his shoulder, sees that Jimmy Nielsen is right behind him. So Nolleen leads. Nielsen 2nd. Glenn Doyle 3rd in that order. We're on now the final lap off heat number 8 of this Internations Championship, with Speedway of the highest quality, with riders, a lot of them who will hope they'll be in that big world final. 8 of them in all who look to get to Gothenburg. And it's Nolleen that gets a win, but more importantly for Sweden, it's his partner Jimmy Nielsen holds on the 2nd place, and Shane Bowles who gets 3rd place for Australia. So there we are, 5-1 to Sweden. They move on to 21, and Australia on to 8. And Peter Nolleen, the winner of heat number 8. Well, there we see the England team manager, Colin Pratt, just looking down and seeing what manoeuvres he can make, along the course with his co-manager, Eric Bucock. The Swedish team manager is Bo Verbrand, who had 1 or 2 seasons with the Poole Pirates back in the 70s, 71 and 73 as a rider. And Neil Street, of course, an all-time favourite with Australian Speedway back in the 60s. So there we go. Now we move on to heat number 9, which features Australia versus England, and it's Lee Adams, red gate 1, his partner Craig Hodgson in blue in gate 3. For England, Gary Havelock, white gate 4, and Chris Louis, current track record holder, yellow black gate 2. This is heat number 9. And away they drive, and straight away it's that line, yellow black. Chris Louis who's there. Chris Louis leads. Lee Adams 2nd. Now coming underneath, Craig Hodgson is Gary Havelock, so he's through to 3rd place. Has he got in room to get past Lee Adams? Lee Adams holding on at the moment. Lee, of course, who rode for Poole before moving up to Swindon in the Sunrise League Division 1 at the start of the 1990 season. But it's Chris Louis that leads, and really is settling in very, very nicely in that England race jacket. You may recall his tremendous performance in that British final we saw on Screen Sport at Brandon Stadium, Coventry, and after a first race fall, bounced back to get through to that Commonwealth Speedway Championship. Looks the style, got the charisma of his father, John Louis, of course, who was an England rider several years ago. Louis still leads from Lee Adams, from Gary Havelock in that order, round the final 2 bends, and it's Chris Louis who's going to take the win. Louis wins, 2nd place for Australia, Lee Adams, and England's Gary Havelock getting 3rd place. So a 4-2 heat advantage to England in heat number 9. 3 to Chris Louis, 1 to Gary Havelock, and Lee Adams getting 2 for Australia. So they are England on 23, Australia 10. That's the scores after heat number 9. So heat number 10, England versus Sweden. Calvin Tatum red, gate 3. Martin Dugard blue, gate 1. Jimmy Nielsen white, gate 4. Peter Nolleen yellow black, gate number 2. Just recall Sweden getting that 5-1 from this pairing a couple of races ago. This is heat number 10. Into that turn, they're all going to go, and Tatum gets the drop, and Dugard is with it for England. Tatum is there, and Martin Dugard as well. Sweden not very sharp from the starts on that occasion. Nielsen trying to come up on the inside of Martin Dugard. Calvin Tatum leads. Of course, the overseas speedway champion, captain of the national side. Dugard tucked in very nicely behind him. Nolleen now comes up alongside Jimmy Nielsen on the outside to try and get through. He has indeed, so Nolleen now going to take up the challenge. It's a fair distance between him and Martin Dugard. So England looking set for 5 points if they can hold on. Still it is, Tatum the leads. We're now on the final lap of heat number 10. And certainly playing his part as a captain is Kelvin Tatum tonight. Second place still, Martin Dugard, tucked in behind him and made him a lot of ground, but not enough is Peter Nolene. And it's England's race win. Tatum wins. More importantly, Dugard gets the second place. And for Sweden, Peter Nolene gets a solitary point. So a 5-1 heat advantage to England, and the cheers of the crowd come out. It's Kelvin Tatum says, come on Martin, let's go round for a lap of honour. So England moving on to 28 points, and Sweden on 22. And this pairing get into the 5-1 in heat number 10. So heat number 11, Sweden versus Australia. Per Jonsson red, gate number 3. Tony Rickardsson blue, gate 1. Todd Wiltshire white, gate 2. Steve Regeling, yellow and black, gate number 4. This is heat number 11. The clutches are dropped, so the engines roar. And it is Sweden again who get into the first and second positions. This time it's Rickardsson on the inside and Jonsson on the outside. And Jonsson now takes the lead, and Wiltshire comes up alongside Rickardsson. Todd Wiltshire, by his standards, is not having a particularly good evening. Jonsson way in front. His partner is fending for himself at the moment. So Jonsson leads. The familiar style which sadly is lost to England this season. But gracing the Scandinavian scenes, of course, for Stockholm United. Still second is Tony Rickardsson. Todd Wiltshire third, and Steve Regeling back in fourth place. So it's looking pretty good at this moment in time, with one more lap to go for Sweden. It's Jonsson rounds the final two bends here at Wimborne Road to come up and take the win. Jonsson in red, he takes the win. Second place is Tony Rickardsson, and in third place for Australia is Todd Wiltshire. So a 5-1 heat advantage to Sweden, and they're back into it. They're on 27 points, and Australia trailing in the wake on 11. So it really is going to be a battle between England and Sweden, just 1 point separating those two nations after 11 heats. So a lot more racing in store for us, and I'm sure a lot more questions to answer as Jonsson and Rickardsson goes round to the applause of the crowd, getting a 5-1 in heat number 11. So we move on to heat number 12, which features Australia and England. In red is Mick Poole coming in for a reserve outing for Australia. He's in red, gate number 1. His partner Shane Bowles is in blue, gate number 3. For England, Marvin Cox white, gate 2, and Jeremy Doncaster on the outside, yellow and black, gate number 4. This is heat number 12. Away they go from that start, and it's a good one for the rider in red, Mick Poole. Of course, your race is down here for Poole as well. So Australia, Mick Poole leads. Cox on the outside of him, and Cox comes round the outside of Mick Poole in superb style. Has Doncaster going to come and join him? Doncaster trying up ground on Mick Poole. A sweet and brave manoeuvre by Marvin Cox goes through the first place. So Cox leads for England. Mick Poole second for Australia. Jeremy Doncaster third for England. And Shane Bowles in fourth place for Australia. That's the way it lies, with 2 laps gone of heat number 12. And Mick Poole, who done all the hard work into that first and second turn, losing out to his Poole 2 mate. They both ride down here in Sunborough League Division 1 action. And it's Cox coming up to take the flag for one more lap. Cox leads still from Mick Poole second, and just look at Jeremy Doncaster coming up now to try and get pressure on Mick Poole. A last cast effort from him. Mick Poole trying to hold on. Cox has got the win, there's no doubt about that. But Mick Poole holds on to second place from Jeremy Doncaster. So a 4-2 heat advantage for England in heat number 12. They move swiftly on to 32 points, and Australia on 13. And Marvin Cox gets a win from the back and takes a checker flag in heat number 12. So there we see the scoreboard after 12 heats of this International Championship. England on 32, Kelvin Tatum 9, and Dugard 4, Havelock 3, Chris Louis 6, Cox 5, and Dungster 5. That's the 32 for the English team. Then we move on to Sweden, who are certainly doing very, very nicely as well. They're on 27, Per Jönsson 7, Tony Rickardson 5, Henrik Gustafsson 6, Mikael Blitz failed to score, Jimmy Nielsen 5, Peter Norlin 4, and Tony Olsson yet to be used. So a little bit of ground to make up by Sweden, but they certainly are the team that are pushing England at this moment in time in this International Championship. Australia sadly in third place, a little way to make up, and perhaps losing a little bit of their way, sadly, without Craig Booth, of course, as we've already mentioned. Tom Wiltshire 2, Steve Virgin 2, Lee Adams 3, Craig Hodgson 2. Join us for more Speedway after the break here on Screen Sport. Welcome back to Wimborne Road in Poole for this Internations Championship. Australia, Sweden and England, and at the moment in time England just with their noses in front over Sweden, and Australia back in third place. Don't forget, Screen Sport, more choice. We move swiftly on to heat number 13, which sees England against Sweden. Gary Havelock red in gate number 1, his partner Chris Louis blue in gate 3. For Sweden, Henrik Gustafsson in white gate 4, Mikael Blitz yellow and black gate number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is heat number 13. Coming into the line, the starting marshal looking, making sure they're all level. He's quite content, signals to the referee. Asks Louis to move a little bit closer, the green light goes on. The tapes rise, the clutches dropped, and away they go. And it is Gary Havelock who heads at the moment. Havelock for England's got his nose in front. So Havelock leads. The Swedes, Gustafsson and Blitz, second and third respectively. Gustafsson on the outside, Blitz third, and Chris Louis at the moment in time for England, trailing in fourth place. So Havelock spared his own takes rows into that first and second turn, and really now looking for the win for England to keep their nose in run, but just look at Gustafsson now trying that favourable outside line, and Havelock's got a race on his hand. His Gustafsson comes up to mount the challenge on the outside, locks up slightly and loses ground, but he's still there. Havelock leads, Gustafsson second, Blitz in third place. And we always thought that England and Sweden would be battling this one out between them, but just look at the competition between these two riders. Gary Havelock, of course, the British Speedway champion, and Henrik Gustafsson, one of the most promising riders in the world of Speedway. Now still mounting a challenge, taking the inside line on Havelock. Havelock still gets the win. A great race for the connoisseur of Speedway. Gary Havelock gets a win. Henrik Gustafsson in white in second place, and in third place his partner Mikael Blitz. So a great race for England, in particular for Gary Havelock there, who gets the win. Congratulations to him, 3 points to each side, and it was of course Henrik Gustafsson. And just look at this challenge at this moment in time. Gustafsson just about gets his nose in front, but he slightly locks up at that moment and loses valuable ground. Gary Havelock also slides as well. Gustafsson comes back on him, and really was a terrific race of Speedway action. When you think these guys are going about 60 and 70 miles an hour with no brakes, it's all full throttle entertainment. But there he is, Gary Havelock, just telling people exactly what happened in heat number 13. But congratulations on a fine win for him, and of course, more importantly, it keeps England in the driving seat in this Internations Championship here at Wimborne Road in Poole in Dorset. While the third and final test moves on to Oxford on Friday before the series are completed, and we move swiftly on now to heat number 14, which sees Sweden versus Australia. Jimmy Nielsen in red in gate number 3, his partner in blue in gate 1 is Peter Norlin. For Australia, Lee Adams in white on the outside gate 4, and Mick Poole yellow and black gate number 2. This is heat 14. Away they drive into that first turn, and it is Norlin who's there in blue. Peter Norlin leads, and just look at Jimmy Nielsen come underneath Mick Poole to join him at the lead of the field. Lee Adams trailing in fourth place, which is not good news for Australia. So Sweden, just seen England drop a point in the previous heat, are now with a little bit of the tail. They say get their tail up. Bo Verhoeven no doubt saying, come on, we need maximum points from Australia in this race. And this is just what the doctor ordered for Sweden. Norlin leads, former World Under-21 champion, now racing for Swindon in the Sunbright League. And Eskils Juna in Sweden, being shepherded by his partner Jimmy Nielsen in second place in red. now go on to the final lap of heat number 14. And if they can hold on, this will hook the scores level between England and Sweden at 35 points apiece. And it's getting very, very close then as we enter the final 4 races here at Poole. And it's Nolly that gets the win. Second place for Sweden also, Jimmy Nielsen. And Mick Poole, the reserve rider, coming in place of Craig Hodgson, gets the 1 point. So Sweden getting 5, Australia 1. And Sweden moving up alongside England on 35 points, and Australia on 14. But Peter Nolly, number 6 on his back, he gets the win in heat number 14. So the script writers just couldn't have got it any closer, could they? On 35 points, England and Australia. And this is heat number 15, which sees Australia versus England. And in red is Glenn Doyle for Australia. He goes in to gate number 3. Mick Poole comes out for a reserve ride, replacing Shane Bowles. He's in gate number 1 in blue. For England, Calvin Tatum in white, gate number 4. And Martin Dugard, yellow and black, gate number 2. This is heat number 15. Green lights showing the tapes rise, and away they go into that first turn, and Dugard leads and Tatum comes round the pack to join in there on a sweet move by the England captain. So Dugard and Tatum together, and this would put breathing space again between England and Sweden, and it really is a good old ding-dong battle between these two nations. Blue is Mick Poole, who holds third place at the moment. But really, it's going to take a superhuman effort to try and split this pairing. Calvin Tatum, so far unbeaten, and this will be an immaculate 12-point maximum if he can hold on. Tatum leads. Martin Dugard quite content to tuck in behind him. And this has been a very, very good partnership for England. Still it is Mick Poole in third place for Australia. But the crowd already sensing a maximum heat advantage to the host nation as Calvin Tatum comes round. Tatum it is who gets there. Second place, and more importantly his partner Martin Dugard. So a 5-1 heat advantage to England, and they're back in front on 40 points. Well, that 5-1 over Australia. So England on 40, Sweden on 35, and Australia on 15. And 3 heats to go here at Poole in Dorset in this second test match of this Internations Championship, and 3 very important heats is going to be as well. England on 40, Tatum on a 12-point maximum, Dugard and Havelock both on 6, along with Chris Louis, Marvin Cox and Jeremy Doncaster both on 5, and their total 40 points. Now we move on to Sweden, who are breathing literally down their necks at this moment in time. They are on 35 points. Per Jonsson 7, Tony Rickardsson 5, Henkel Gustafsson 8, Mikael Blitz 1, and Jimmy Nielsen and Peter Nolin, a very good partnership at 5 and 6. They are on 7 points each. So Sweden's total 35. And Australia in third place on 15 points at this moment in time. And that's made up of Todd Wiltshire 2, Steve Reslin 2, Lee Adams 3, Craig Hodgson 2, Glenn Doyle 0, Shane Bowles 2, and Mick Poole, their reserve, coming with some useful points. He's on 4 points. So there we are. Join us for the conclusion of this test match after the break. Welcome back to Poole for the conclusion of this Internations Championship. 3 heats to go, and each nation has 2 more outings, so it's getting very close. England versus Sweden, when a lot of questions could be answered. Gary Havelock red, Chris Louis blue, and for Sweden, Per Jonsson white and Tony Rickardsson yellow and black. And straight away it is the England pairing of Havelock and Louis, who speed from the start. Havelock and Louis with their noses in front over Sweden. Louis on the inside in blue, Havelock on the outside in red. And at this moment in time, this could be a crucial blow to Sweden's hopes. Per Jonsson and Tony Rickardsson turning in the wake for Sweden, and all eyes are on Chris Louis and Gary Havelock. Oh, and Chris Louis spins round and it's down. Chris Louis is down and on the track, locked up. Did Chris Louis, and the red lights are on, as you say, for safety, and the race has been stopped, and that will mean that, look at that, slides, locks up, down goes Chris Louis, and from that moment now it puts pressure on Gary Havelock. We see Chris Louis on his feet, which is good news for England. What a vital part he's played in this test match. but that's a vital blow for England because it puts Sweden in with a second bite of the cherry when it looked at that stage as though they are set for 5 points. So, Chris Louis now excluded, 3 riders only, Gary Havelock red, and the Swedish pairing of Per Jönsson and Tony Rickardsson coming back for a second bite of the cherry. Starting Marshall calling them in, and a lot of pressure now on Gary Havelock's shoulders for England to keep their noses in front. This is the restart of heat number 16, and the drama continues. Away they go, and this time has Havelock got the speed. It's Rickardsson who leads in yellow-black, Havelock second. Rickardsson looks over his shoulder, and Jönsson swiftly moves into second place. So all of a sudden, the swings and roundabouts of Speedway has turned 180 degrees. All of a sudden, England looks surely set to take this test match and rock things up in heat number 16. But back come the Swedes, and you just can't write them off. We saw just a couple of weeks ago in that tremendous test match in Malmo in Sweden what they done to the Danes, and the Danes just came back at them. This time they're coming back at England in the shape of Rickardsson in yellow and Jönsson in white. And Gary Havelock, who really had the race sewn up in the first staging before his partner fell off, is now trailing in the wake of these two Wario Swedes. They are saying thank you very much for a second bite of the cherry. So Rickardsson leads. Jönsson tucked in behind him. And it is 3 points for Rickardsson, Jönsson 2, and Sweden get a 5-1, and hyped up is Tony Rickardsson, who's pleased with life. They get the maximum heat advantage, and that means now Sweden are on 40 points, Australia are on 15, and England on 41, so just 1 point between those two nations, England and Sweden, with just 2 heats to go. So heat number 17, and a very important one for Sweden. Henkel Gustafsson is in red, Mikael Blitz blue for Australia, Todd Wiltshire white, and Steve Regling in yellow and black. And Steve Regling, in fact, Steve Regling has been replaced by a reservist, Mick Poole, who comes in yellow and black. So Mick Poole is in yellow and black, replacing Steve Regling. That's the lineup for heat number 17. The green light now goes on. The tapes are released, and they drive into that first turn, and it's Sweden who at this moment in time are there in the shape of Gustafsson and Blitz. Gustafsson on the inside, Mikael Blitz on the inside, and Todd Wiltshire in white chasing them. It certainly hasn't been a very happy night for Australia, in particular Todd Wiltshire. They're carrying dent and help England out by trying to split this Swedish pairing. Gustafsson still leads. Blitz second, Wiltshire third. Blitz is taking out, so then Wiltshire trying to put a bit of pressure on him. We're coming up to complete 2 laps here of heat number 17. Gustafsson leads, Blitz still second, Wiltshire third. Wiltshire now taking inside line on Mikael Blitz. Has he got the speed? Gustafsson still holds on. We now enter the final lap of heat number 17. Blitz and Wiltshire having a battle for the minor places. Gustafsson way in front. And there, let's see on the final 2 bends. And there's a Todd Wiltshire's down. Wiltshire is down and into the crash barriers here at Wimborne Road. But it is Australia who get the 5 points from Gustafsson and Blitz. But we wait to see whether Todd Wiltshire's okay. Took a nasty looking tumble. His Sweden moves swiftly on to 45 points. And we take another look in a slow motion version, and it just seems to drift out into no man's land, and from that moment onwards Wiltshire goes into that protective fence here at Wimborne Road, and the bike coming back a little bit bent and twisted, but we keep our fingers crossed for Todd Wiltshire, of course, third in the world final in 1990. You see he's on his feet, just getting helped into the ambulance, which is not a nice sight in any sporting arena. Been eliminated from the World Championship in Continent. He's now in reserve for the semi-final stages. There we see a glimpse of him in the ambulance as he makes his way back to the pits here at Wimborne Road. We keep our fingers crossed for Todd Wiltshire, who was the faller in heat 17. So heat number 18, and one which England can wrap up proceedings if they get a maximum in this race. It's Cox there in white in gate number 4, and Doncaster in yellow-black in gate number 2. The opposition is Lee Adams in red in gate 3, and Craig Hodgson in blue in gate number 1, so England need maximum points from this race to wrap up this test match here at Poole. And as they speed from the top, Cox is left in gate number 4, Doncaster leads, and Cox comes underneath Lee Adams to join his partner at the front. So England, if they can hold on, will take this test match. Doncaster leads, but it was Marvin Cox's sweet manoeuvre on the first and second turn which took him past Lee Adams, which now gives England the chance to snatch this test match. Doncaster leads in yellow-black, Cox in second place, Lee Adams third. And now we enter the climax of the arena with England on home territory, about to snatch this test match from the Swedish nation who have fought all the way here at Wimborne Road. Sadly, Australia not come up to much here, but it's been all eyes on England and Sweden in the latter stages of this one. We're on the final lap and barring engine failures of 4, England have done it. Doncaster around the final 2 bends of what has been a tremendous atmosphere here at Wimborne Road. And it's Doncaster that comes up to take the win. And England, with Cox in second place, have taken this second test match here by 46 points to 45 over Sweden. And Doncaster and Cox shake hands down the back straight, and the fans are going to give them a great round of applause as they take England to this first test match success. Just bearing in mind, the first one was abandoned at Glasgow on Sunday, and Kelvin Tatum, Chris Louis and all the boys coming out to pat Jeremy Doncaster and Marvin Cox on the back. So there we are, that's it. England have won the test match. Let's have a few words then with a relieved captain, Kelvin Tatum, and that winner of heat number 18, Jeremy Doncaster.
Congratulations, England, for winning, or shall I say Britain?
Yeah, you should say Britain, yeah, but thanks very much, yeah.
How does it feel? I mean, it's slightly unusual nowadays, isn't it?
It's very cheeky, I think, but no, we put up a really good performance against a very strong Swedish team, a little bit of a weakened Australian team, but I think we thoroughly deserved it. Everybody chipped in with a handful of points, and I think you know, we were the best team on the night.
I wholeheartedly agree. What about it, Jeremy? I mean, I mean, there's been all this debate over whether England is going downhill and so on. I mean, it feels nice to on the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think tonight's these serious meetings. I mean, this is the only one I'll be in tonight at Poole, and it's a combination of youth and experience. And me and Calvin are probably the most experienced ones.
Oh, I thought you were the youth.
No, well, yeah, thanks for the compliment. Yeah, it's very nice.
You look good, mate.
Yeah, good. But like, we've got some real good young riders coming who should be brought in this moment, like especially Chris Louis. I mean, he badly needs the international experience, and those type of riders. There's still a few English riders around of his capability, but they need that experience now, and I think it's about time. Like, I don't mind stepping down if it's going to help England's future. Yeah. You know, there's no problem at all, as long as they pick me again. Really, I suppose, you know, England's real future lies in the 50cc speedway, which, if you notice around the tracks today, there are a few tracks catering for that, which really is going to be England's future.
I mean, at the moment, you have to pick them from grass track, really.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's getting very limited now. A lot of the grass track riders turn especially to motocross because they just get more riding on the bike, you know, and they're not going to come through. So, I mean, it's now we have to do something, because when me and Calvin have moved on, Chris Louis and Mark Loram, they move on, then you're going to be struggling for young up-and-coming riders. So if that gets off the ground now, then England's future looks bright.
Well, great comments there from Jeremy Doncaster, and congratulations to Kelvin Tatum on leading that side by example. A 12-point maximum from him. Martin Dugard 6, Gary Havelock 7, Chris Louis 6, Marvin Cox 7, and Jeremy Doncaster 8. Total 46, and England take this one. Per Jonsson 9, Tony Rickardson 8, Henrik Gustafsson 11, Mikael Blitz 3, Jimmy Nilsson and Peter Nolin both 7. Sweden total 45. And sadly for Australia, who were depleted by injury, it's fair to say, and perhaps not riding to true potential. Todd Wiltshire 2, Steve Resling 2, Lee Adams 4, Craig Hodgson 2, Glenn Doyle failed to score, Shane Bowles 2, and Mick Poole, the reserve, weighing in with 4 points. So there we go. Now the third test match goes to Oxford on Friday to see if, of course, Sweden can come back and get revenge, or Australia can come up. All that remains for me to say is on behalf of Tommy Randers and Transmission and TV Media, this is Clive Fisher as always for Screen Sport, saying thanks for your company and good night from Poole in Dorset.